Greetings and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Runescape Weekly. Let me quickly just queue up some nice Arise Legend while we quickly talk before we get into the show here. How's everybody doing? Good pre-stream, by the way, Harley. Really, it was nice to wake up to some Shattered Worlds. Good stuff. If you haven't noticed and you're not following our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Magebit, make sure you are, because Harley's been doing a lot of streaming, and I'm sure she'll touch on that a little bit later on in the show, of course, here. I am trying to get Restream to connect to Facebook.
We got some exciting announcements to come in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. I am just doing the final checks here before we jump into the real show here. I think everything is all set. It's having some minor Restream chat issues, but they look to be all solved now. Isn't it nice to be able to say that? I feel like it's not very often I get to say that everything looks to be all set now. So cool. Maybe we're actually going to get into a show without any technical difficulties. Knock on particle board. All right. Let's see here. Where's our intro? Where's our wonderful intro music? It's around here somewhere. One of these days. One of these days. It's probably the track labeled Epic Intro, but you never know. All right. Good stuff. So, show notes looking good. Any final thoughts on them, or am I good to say that these are the show notes for the show?
Hey, good. You're good to go.
I think you're good to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, if everyone is cool with my show notes, we got a lot of PSAs today, by the way. I'm going to quickly just toss them into YouTube then for YouTube description. And then I think we can pretty much get this show on the road.
Sounds good to me. Does my mic sound okay? Because I'm using my desktop mic instead of my laptop, or instead of my mobile mic. So I just want to make sure that, and sometimes there's background noise, so as long as you're not hearing that, that's a good thing.
Sound is good at the moment. Feels awkward commenting as I never normally do it. Alright. Let's see here. Let me pause a few things, open some topics, and then I guess we can get this show right on the road. Got a good show for you today. A lot of Shattered Worlds talk. I feel like we've... Shut up. Music. I feel like we've done enough Shattered Worlds to have some opinions on it by now, so let me just quickly... Again, bear with me. My new mouse has not arrived yet, so opening topics is a minor challenge.
When are you expected to get your new mice?
Should be here by the 8th. So... basically next Monday, and that's just rough estimate. It could be here sooner. I got it from Newegg, so no like Amazon Prime fancy shipping or anything. It's gonna take its sweet ass time.
Is it that fancy mouse that you were after?
Yeah, I grabbed the I think it's a 2014 Razer Naga Chroma. Like, it's definitely not the latest version, but it was like $40, and for $40 for a Razer Naga Chroma, that's good enough for me. So I'm happy, and I will be
mouse
happy.
Is about $150 in Australia.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's generally about 80 to 100 here, so I felt like it was a pretty good deal grabbing it for like 40. Hopefully it's quality, but it's from Newegg, so should be okay. Anyway, today is in fact the 3rd. Everything else looks good here, so I'm gonna go ahead and begin the show. And let me just quickly adjust this to like 33%. And let's do this in 3, 2, 1. You're listening to RuneScape Weekly for 5/3/2017. I'm your host, Magebit, with 15 years of RuneScape experience. Streaming today is dxthelb and Harley. And on today's show, Shattered Worlds, Shattered Worlds calculations, Shattered Worlds do's and don'ts, Shattered Worlds isn't endgame content, RuneScape's targeting system, patch notes for 5.2, cross-game UI experience, and a returning player's story. Thank you for tuning into this edition of RuneScape Weekly, and enjoy the show. Welcome back for your Wednesday edition of RuneScape Weekly. Magebit here. Got a good show for you today. Gonna be talking Shattered Worlds and much, much more. Joining us today is Harley. How you doing, Harley?
I'm doing good. Had to rush to my mute button because I was expecting DX to get introduced first.
I mix it up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was just like
The screwing with the mind.
unmute. Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. I've been doing a lot of playing of Shattered Worlds / streaming it, and it's been super fun.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying watching you playing Shattered Worlds. I've played a little bit myself, not really a whole heck of a lot, because I'm kind of focused on 120 cooking at the moment. But the amount I did play, I'm cool with. I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I liked Parnassius' comment. He says, can't understand people who hate Dominion Tower yet like Shattered Worlds. I'm that person right there. Hate Dominion Tower, like Shattered Worlds. Maybe we can get into that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, you know, Perna has a very interesting experience where he hasn't played a lot of other video games, and to people who have played a ton, like Shadow Worlds feels a lot like roguelike genre of video games, and so I think that appeals to a lot of people who like that type of game, and I can totally understand how, though, if you haven't played that type of game, how you could see Dominion Tower.
Yeah, totally.
Worlds,
it's a good analogy. I mean, just like saying like the fact that you're saying like I don't get it like makes sense if you've never played a roguelike or even like a Diablo like or anything like that. Like I think one of the comments that I saw on Reddit was like, thank you for Shattered Worlds, brings me back to my Path of Exile days, which anyone who remembers Path of Exile or plays Path of Exile, it is basically a ripoff of Diablo. It's an MMO that is basically just a ripoff of Diablo. It's free to play on Steam, and I believe it's coming to the Xbox as well, if it's not already there. But point being that, yeah, it's very much like a Diablo-like as well. Like, there's some really interesting things that they do in Shattered Worlds that has never been done before. And is Shattered Worlds a perfect product? By no means, but we'll get into that. But it has some great potential, and I enjoyed the little bit that I played through, being only like the first 10 worlds. I found it very aesthetically pleasing. The mechanics were mostly interesting, and I have to say, Harley asked me yesterday when it had come out what I thought of it, and I said I would let you know when I've gotten over how beautiful the landscapes are, because I was still just being captivated by how pretty the area looked and just how well put together it was. It really felt immersive, and it was just quality to look at. So I was still like, this looks amazing, everything looks amazing, but on the surface these are just graphics, and I have to let the mechanics speak for themselves. And I personally haven't gotten to the hard worlds yet. And I'll get after we let Harley, who has gotten to the kind of the harder worlds, give her opinion, I'll give some of my speculations and fears as well. Plenty of stuff to get into. Let's give DX a chance to say hello. How you doing, DX?
I'm doing all right. I've actually spent, unfortunately, I've spent most of the week looking after my niece in the morning, so I haven't been able to get on in the morning or the evening. So it's feeling nice to actually have a little bit of a break for a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to have you here, and I hope you have.
And I've also been giving Shadow Worlds a little bit of a try too. And also for those people, I actually put in the general and live on Discord a looping animation of the skybox in one of the dark areas in Shadow Worlds. So if you want to use that, you can actually set that to a loop, and it actually loops perfectly.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I just see that. If anyone wants that, it's right in our general chat. I'm probably going to download this and could maybe do something with it. That's pretty cool. I like that. Nice work.
Hard to believe the loop only goes for 1:04, right? That's crazy.
Right? Yeah, but it works, so that's pretty cool. It looks nice, too. It looks really nice. Let me quickly read about Shattered Worlds here, if we're good to jump into that. We got PSAs, right? We got PSAs. I think Harley has her own PSAs as well. Yep. DX, why don't you jump through our normal list of PSAs, and then Harley, you take your PSAs. Go ahead, go.
Okay. The minigame spotlight is currently on Steel in Creation, but it's going to change when the midnight tick happens. The circus is still currently located at Lumbridge. The free Solomon General Store for May is the Nex Outfit, which is usually about 400 rune coins or 360 for members. The Jagex Account Guardian is going to be disabled as of the 15th of May. According to Mod Shawnee, Happy Hour is going to be automated soon, which is pretty damn good. And also the 2nd of May, which is yesterday, the Road to Menaphos stream was bumped. It's going to be bumped until the 9th of May. And also, finally, Happy Hour will start in Worlds 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, and 88 on the hour, on this
On
upcoming
the
hour.
hour. Yes, granted, Shawnee can get there in time because it's still not automated, right? Soon,
Yeah,
but
not that we know of yet.
yeah.
He said I think they're working on it, but once they do have it working, they'll be able to do it by one command.
Yeah, which seems how it should have been the whole time,
Yeah.
but we're not gonna. We won't get into that.
Hopefully this means way more worlds, because if you play at peak times, it's still a problem to get into a world. Like, especially if your computer, like my computer can run the game at like mid details, and I turn everything on low when I go to happy hour, and I get between 0 and 5 frames. And so like it's just it makes it impossible to train anything unless you pick the most AFK stuff. And like
Mm.
really what I want to be training during this event is agility, but it's literally I get like 80k an hour or something like that because of the lag. When it's like off off um off happy hour, I get like 150k 200k an hour on that agility course, but
Mm.
just because of the lag during happy hour, it kills even the reason to do it. So hopefully they can at least, if I feel like happy hour should be on every world, but if not every world, at least like 10-20 worlds, something like that.
That'd be nice. I think you're gonna be disappointed, but it would be nice if they did that. Excuse me. Pardon me. Let me read a little bit.
Anyways, I will
Yeah.
first before we do that.
Oh yeah.
I have a couple of things to talk about. First one is we have the winners for the Twitch Prime code giveaway. So the winners are Private Tucker and the RR Man. So congratulations to both of them. I've already talked to the RR Man, gave him his code. Private Tucker, if you hear this and haven't reached out to me yet, go ahead and hit me up on Discord, and I will send that code to you if you don't already have one. And congratulations. And a reminder that next week we are giving away the I almost said the wrong ring again. The Luck of the Dwarves.
Stop giving away rings we can't obtain.
Yeah. We're giving away 2 Luck of the Dwarves rings. And like I said on the previous show, there's 3 ways to enter that. You can donate, you can tweet out that you would like one using the hashtag PVM Perspective on Twitter. You can also comment on any of the shows from the 420 show on. Leave a comment on any one of those videos, and that will get you an entry as well. So go ahead and may the luckiest person win, I guess I'll say. And
RNG to raise your RNG.
Exactly. So maybe you should wear Luck of the Dwarves when you enter the competition. You never know. It might
That would be
help.
funny. The ring shines more brightly.
You should buy a lottery ticket.
My allergies. The second I start talking. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that sucks. And the next announcement that this kind of involves Magebit, and I guess the whole RS Weekly thing in general, is that Magebit and I are going to be doing a partnership here, a streaming partnership together, where I will be streaming much more often on the Runescape Weekly Twitch channel specifically. So if you do not follow the Twitch channel, make sure to go ahead and look it up. It's twitch.com/Magebit. If you are able to tune into the streams, I'll be doing at least 1 to 2 streams a week, at least, if not more. It depends on how busy my weeks are. I think I've already done 3 to 4 streams this week, so it's been a lot of them coming through. Next week I'm going away on vacation, so I won't be around. But after that, it'll be again probably another week of a bunch of streams. Like I said, at least 1 a week. I'll probably set a schedule for 1 stream so that people know when to come. I haven't decided on dates yet to do that. So, yeah, that's a super exciting thing we're gonna do. Part of the reason we're doing that too is people who don't know, Twitch recently announced their affiliate program, which allows people who stream and have I think it's 3 viewers concurrently to get entered into their bits program, which lets people donate via bits on Twitch, which is kind of how you can donate cash. You can basically buy bits and donate them. And the cool thing about that as well, though, is you can also earn those by watching ads. So for people out there who don't have money but want to support the channel, you'll be able to watch watch ads, earn some bits, and then you can come and drop them on either my streams or during the Runescape Weekly streams, and we can you can help the channel out that way.
Yeah. Anytime anytime you see basically Harley live, it helps us significantly for you just to be there as we work on trying to get bits enabled.
Yeah. And if you are able to, for like the next month or two, if you watch the shows live, or you have a computer that you can just leave the stream up on, if you can start watching on Twitch, or just leave the stream open, and if you can't watch, just have it open there, that could really help us to be able to acquire the affiliate program. So anybody who's able to do that, that will be greatly appreciated.
Yep, we're right on the edge. The affiliate program is pretty lenient. We really only need a few people watching live each show. So if peak viewership hits like 3 people on Twitch, we're good to go. There's 20 people right now across all of our streaming platforms. Most are on YouTube. So if like 2 people moved over, that would help us out. You are obviously by no means obligated to do so. Watch wherever is most convenient for you. But if you want to help out and you're like stuck on figuring out on ways to help out, like maybe you can't donate, that's a way you can help out. So there you go.
Yeah, and if you can't watch live, of course, all of my streams will be going up as VODs on the YouTube side, and will also be available after the fact on Twitch as well. So you can always catch the stuff there. There's probably about 5 to 6 videos right now up since Saturday.
Yeah,
I did a bunch of questing streams over the weekend. As people will know, we hit the first 2 goals for the fundraiser for PBM Perspective. So I ended up having to stream a bunch of quests. Luckily, Fatty was nice enough to donate to put us over the second goal. So I basically just did all the quests in a 2-day span, got them out there. Also, we are at, I think, if I remember correctly, we're at $130 right now, which is only $20 away from unlocking 2 seasons of PBM Perspective, and also we exactly halfway to being completely done with the fundraisers. So the support for the show has been amazing, both monetarily speaking and in all your feedback. So I really appreciate that. And if anybody is able to help more, it's just tip.runeweek.com. Thank you very much for all the support.
Indeed. If guests count towards the viewership, I don't know how Twitch works, so that's why I'm giving this generic Sarah. But if Twitch viewership counts towards guests, then it should work. As long as the number goes up to like 3. I don't think it matters if you're logged in or not. I don't 100% know that though. But yeah, since the last podcast has been released, Harley has done 5 videos on our YouTube channel. Like we have RuneScape Weekly from 426, and then Harley has done Quest Stream 1, Quest Stream 2, Shattered Worlds, another Quest Stream, another Shattered Worlds. Like our YouTube channel is just flooded with content, which is great, like having content in between podcasts. So,
hey Harley, what quests did you do recently?
I did Zogre Flesh Eaters as a first resort, and in Search of the Myreki and in Aid of the Myreki.
Wow, you hadn't done the Myreki quests until now? Wow.
Nope, I had not.
They're good quests.
I this account that I play on now, I had it since 2005, but I stopped playing on it like probably I played on it on and off, but like I really stopped in like 2006. I had a different account. I just don't remember the name of it, and then I came back to this one at some point. So there's like some quests that I did back in the day, but there's a whole bunch that I missed, and the Myreki quest series is just one that I haven't done. So my plan is to live stream that entire series. So if you want to get caught up on that, that's kind of the plan I have to do, is to stream that whole series eventually.
I love watching people stream.
As a first resort, you'll find as a first resort will be a useful one for someone like you there, Harley.
What's
that's combination potions, I'm guessing. Is what
I find it very useful. Yeah,
no, I'm referring to the boost that you get from the prayer points and the unlimited run for a certain amount of minutes and the boost to the hit points.
Of course, he's referring to a 15-year-old perk. Shall I talk about Shattered Worlds real quick?
That quest was hell, though. I just have to say,
yeah.
As a first resort, like, you watch my first part of that stream, like I get so my brain was fried.
It was late.
I had to log off. Yeah.
I mean, ironically, you finished it like even later, but
yeah. I woke up at 3 a.m. couldn't go back to sleep, so I just did a video recording and put it back out because I wanted to get that stupid quest.
Sometimes that's what it takes, though. It's just you stepping away for a few hours and then coming back and just banging it out then. I get that. Anyway, let's talk about Shattered Worlds. Let me get us into Shattered Worlds real quick. So this is coming from the official RuneScape website here. It says, stride into the abyss for madcap battles in Shattered Worlds, the new combat minigame. Slaughter your way through procedurally generated map packed up with mashups of RuneScape environments, enemies, and mutator effects, surviving ever-increasing difficulty for as long as you possibly can. Put your limits in this test of skill, adaptability, and endurance, and claim some amazing new rewards, including Sigils, new gear that grant powerful temporary effects. So, of course, this can be found in the Lumbridge Swamp. It requires RuneScape memberships, and it would be helpful if you were at least level 40 in one combat skill to begin. So really, no really requirements at all, just to kind of go and do it, which is nice. It's always nice to see low barrier of entry, high level of mastery. So right off the bat, I think they nailed it with that, meaning they didn't really lock it out of any specific group of people. Good idea. It says, reality as we know it teeters on the edge of seething mass of chaos. The abyss, once kept at bay by powerful magic seals, it now threatens to boil over into Gielinor. In aid of the abyssal knights, you'll enter Shattered Worlds alone and fight through bizarre maps filled with strange creatures. You may bring your own gear and consumables, or be provided with some gear to use while you're there. Note that should you bring your own gear, it will still degrade as applicable, and consumables will be used as normal. As you progress through the worlds, not only will the difficulty increase, but the mutators will be applied, persistent effects which change how you and or your enemies behave for the duration of your run. You might find yourself a vampiric, able to leech life force off your foes, or you might find that enemies explode into hordes of zombie chickens when you kill them. These and many stranger things await you when you step through the portal. Eventually, you will fail, but fear not, Shattered Worlds is a safe death. And the challenge lies in defeating your personal best score and those of your friends. You'll find 3 weekly challenges to test your mettle and earn bonus rewards. Try the gold challenge for a real test of your combat skill. So
They're not kidding. The gold challenge is ridiculous.
I think I did the
Even
bronze
I went and
challenge by
tried it.
accident. Mm-hmm.
Even I went and tried it, man. I lasted 16 seconds.
Crazy. So apparently it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Yep, it gives tier 60 gear. I went through with the welfare gear that they gave just the first 10 worlds, and I mean, you might as well just like use the gear they give you for a little until like you hit like world like 30 or 40. It sounds like don't waste your charges. Agree? Disagree?
I mean, it depends how. If you, I think honestly, from World 1, if you want to do it the best way possible, you should be overloading and praying and wearing your best gear because
but their monsters are like level 12 in World 1.
I wouldn't wear T90, but because that degrades per hit. But like T80 or T70 power gear. The thing is though, the quicker you finish the worlds, it lets you skip. So if you are doing this much damage as possible, you will get through those early worlds way quicker than if you're wearing the welfare gear.
I just feel like it's impossible to not like hit max hit on them almost every time, even with like tier 60 gear. Just my personal opinion, but I went through with the gear they gave me. I didn't eat a single time in the first 20 worlds. As far as my time to get through the worlds, I don't know if that was affected or not. I couldn't tell you because I haven't tried it with tier 90s. I think it would go faster just because of the way mobs would probably die if I had like an AoE. Like if I was using my scythe, I think it would have gone a lot faster. But anyway, let's talk rewards real quick. So
just for record, you're talking about how Harley does hers. I did mine using my invention gear because you can actually train invention while you're in.
Sure, yeah. I honestly think that Shattered Worlds is possibly going to be a place where people go to get cheap invention XP and combat XP, not having to worry about eating food, really, or having to worry about monsters being too hard. Good.
Well, you might need to eat food, but I think at the higher levels, like especially once balancing gets done, I think at like level like 60 through 80 will be a good place to camp. I think it could be as good, if not better, XP than the Abyss, and a bit more engaging. I mean, if you want to AFK, of course, the Abyss will still be king, but if you want to do something that's a
Sure.
bit more engaging, this will give you a place to still get boatloads of XP.
Oh yeah.
And I also wanted to say about the safe death thing, hardcore Iron Man beware, because you can you can die if you take damage right as you leave, or if you are poisoned and leave. The poison can carry over, and then you can, and if even if you don't like leave the whole area, you just leave the you just leave the 5 zones. Like if you're finishing your 5th zone and you're gonna go to that middle area isn't counted as a safe death. So some hardcore Iron Men have been dying there. So don't lose your account.
Good to know. Good to know. Hopefully they... is that just a technicality, or is that something they need to fix?
It's something they need to fix.
Good to know.
The damage shouldn't be carrying it through the portal. I mean, I would say, like, personally, if I played a hardcore Iron Man, I wouldn't touch any new content.
It's a good
until
idea.
It was like a month old. That's kind of, I think, a good rule of thumb. But if you're thinking about it,
until at least next week when they patch that one up.
Pern's mentioning the gear they give you is tier 60. Keep in mind that the armor is tier 60, but I think it's hybrid. I don't know if that affects that as all, because it goes with all the comments.
It is hybrid.
So that might affect the defense you get, but yeah, Pern's saying he used Armadillo and a crystal bow, and I honestly, that sounds perfectly fine to me, at least for the first like 50 worlds or so, maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, max combat helps a lot as well. Let's talk about rewards real quick. So it says here, Brave Shattered Worlds, and the rewards will be rich. You'll receive reward currency and a rare chance at a pet in a chest at the end of your run. Speak to the Quartermaster outside Shattered Worlds entrance to spend your rewards, including, but not limited to, Sigils. These new pieces of gear give powerful benefits when activated, either from the hotbar or from the worn interface. They have no passive benefits. It's all about active effects. They sit in an all-new equipment slot. Activating a sigil puts it on cooldown, along with all other sigils. No swapping out stack effects. You'll need to choose what you want carefully. Sigils have charges, and they can be recharged at the entrance to Shattered Worlds. We may introduce sigils in the future that degrade to dust. As far as sigils released today, there are 3. Sigil of Slaying, which increases earned Slayer XP by 10% for 30 seconds. Sigil slot cooldown for 60 seconds. The Ferocious Sigil, which is a Kuradil's Slayer Dungeon Sigil, which allows NPCs to be instantly respawned on death for 30 seconds, which has a cooldown also of 60 seconds. And the Aggression Sigil, which immediately forces nearby monsters to attack you. I would assume this is probably going to be the most popular. It has a Sigil slot cooldown of 20 seconds. So I would assume Aggression, Slayer, Ferocious is the order in which I would find them useful. But I assume some people are really going to want to min-max that Slayer XP.
Yeah, and I'm not
I
sure
think the Aggression one would be absolutely be the best one to go for.
I don't agree, because people will just use aggro pots. Like, I think the Aggression one is kind of like duplicate content, while the other 2 are things that you can't do in any other way.
Yeah, but you have to go through the wildy to actually.
Aggro pots can be expensive. The only thing I can think of here is this is a way to grind out the same effect without having to really spend the same amount of money, but you are spending your time as a sacrifice instead.
Yeah, and I mean it's way more active than aggro pots, and most people who use the benefit from aggro pots is how AFK.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it like, I don't know, like, you're right that this will be, I think it will have a niche. I don't think it will be the most popular, because
you bring up a valid point with the fact that aggro potions are just a straight like duration of time, and you don't have to look at them at all for like 5 minutes or something, whereas this you have to look at it basically every 20 seconds if you want to keep up with it actively. So yeah, that's true that it doesn't completely like negate or even really devalue aggro potions that much. It almost feels like aggro potion light for people who maybe can't afford aggro potions, perhaps. That's my thoughts, at least. Shall we move along to abilities?
Oh, and according to
Go for it.
Fatty, the sigil will be 8x8 targeting versus 3x3, so it'll have a bigger radius
range
to it. So I could, that could
pros and cons.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good to know.
I mean, yeah. I personally think the first one I'm going to go for, I think, is the Slayer XP one, because that sounds the most useful to me.
Yeah.
Although the Kuradil's dungeon one does sound super useful, especially on like double XP weekends when that place is freaking packed. Like, to have instantly spawning monsters could be super helpful to getting tasks done.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, it could really help you power through tasks, especially on some of the weaker monsters in the dungeon that you can kind of just mow down, like gargoyles and stuff like that. Like, heck yeah. 100% not worth grinding there for 20 plus hours for 10% Slayer XP. Thieves brings up a slightly valid point. I suppose if you're doing it for other reasons, perhaps as a side effect, even if that reason is fun, I would say that that's perfectly valid as a reward. But if you're purposely grinding out for 20 plus hours, think of the math. Like if you're going for 120, that 10% might be useful. If you're going for 99 and you're 80 or something, then yeah, it might not be very helpful. But you have to think of time put in versus time saved in the long run of that 10%. If the 10% experience from whatever your goal is does not equal the amount of time it's spent to get that reward, then yes, you are correct. Don't bother with the 20 plus hours.
I also think
If it's going to save you 40 hours and it takes you 20 hours, then do it. Go ahead.
I also think it's important to remember that, like, sometimes efficiency isn't, like, I don't know. Sometimes we get way too focused on efficiency.
That's why I said fun is a valid reason for playing Shattered Worlds. And if it so happens to just give you a 10% Slayer reward just because you were enjoying it, I'm cool with that. Good.
Yeah, I think fun, and I mean also like the combat XP you're going to be getting. Like you can say it's not worth the time, but are you including the amount of time of the combat XP you're going to be getting? Like, even if you just think about it through that level.
Sure.
Like, at the higher levels, you get, like, over 1 million combat XP an hour in there, which is pretty dang good.
That's crazy. That's like regular Abyss levels of training. Is it just without the AFK, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So let's see here. We have sigils, and we also have abilities. So these are permanent unlocks, I assume. And it says here, and the first one is Bladed Dive, which is a basic ability, requires 65 attack, and is for dual-wielding setups. Leap towards the target location or enemy. If an enemy is targeted, you'll deal damage to it and all adjacent enemies upon arrival. If enemies are hit by the Bladed Dive and die within 3 seconds, Bladed Dive's cooldown is reset. Note that Bladed Dive does not share a cooldown with Barge, Escape, or Surge. So this is a fairly mobile ability that gets you around the map, and it doesn't cause your other mobile abilities to also go on cooldown. It kind of works synergistically with them, and I think that is that's valuable. That's pretty cool. Is this an ability that you think you want to add to your repertoire? I'm curious to hear the breakdown of this on PVM Perspective, whether it happens this episode or next. I assume it might happen next, being how new this is. I don't know, but I'm curious to know what these abilities really mean for PVMers. They sound pretty interesting.
I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely, like, these are two places that need it because right now, Sidescape is definitely the way melee goes. Although single target, you do get more damage dual wielding. So that's a good addition there, and especially and range is another one where dual wielding range wins out like way over two-handed range when you're min-maxing it. So it's good to they're basically trying to balance out the styles better and make it so that you can choose between either and not actually be at a DPS loss. I don't know what it comes out to in the end, but it's a good effort.
Interesting. So this is basically to help balance. Is that what you're saying? It brings dual wielding more in line?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
That's good to know. So we also have Salt in the Wound here. Go ahead, DX. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would. It's interesting how there's only like two of these abilities so far that have been launched in the game. One of them being dual wielding and the other one being ranged. There's nothing on magic and there's nothing on like a two-handed weapon yet.
Well, magic is already like one of the most powerful.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that many abilities.
No, but its abilities are extremely powerful. Like it doesn't need more. It would just make it more OP.
Hey, Sam.
Like that's kind of why you probably won't see any magic abilities for a long time, because magic is, I mean, like Sidescape is a thing, but really at high levels, especially in the PVM area, like magic wins over everything, just because of how. Just
why magic weapons are so much more expensive. I'll never have dual seismics. So Salt in the Wound here, threshold ability, it's level 60 ranged, and it works for just ranged in general. Deals 188% weapon damage to the target, plus an additional 18% weapon damage per stack of punctured on the target. This also refreshes the duration of punctured. When purchased, also upgrades your existing dazed shot to punctured status. Puncture stacks up to 10 times and deals a small amount of damage over time. And for those of you wondering, you can turn off the puncture effect for bosses like Nex and Yakamaru, where stuns and bleeds are basically a death sentence. So it works both ways there for you. But yeah, the second one, this is an interesting ability. And this is something that they've been doing a little bit more. You saw it with Storm Shards and Shatter, where you're starting to see status effects be basically triggering abilities after certain status effects have reached critical mass, being kind of a thing, and I love it. I think that's a great thing to add to combat. I mean, it adds a level of attention to combat, attention of detail that really never existed in the game, and I think is valuable for high level PVM. That's all I really have to say about it as somebody who isn't really involved in high level PVM, but I can definitely see the value there because let's just be honest, every other major game with this type of combat system has had these types of abilities for a long time. So nothing new here, but definitely much needed. Adds a nice level of spice, I think, to combat once you can unlock these abilities, I suppose. Also, I think that Salt in the Wound, probably no problem. I'm curious to see how well Bladed Dive works in the RuneScape combat system / game engine. I'm a little concerned about that. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's gonna end up being like. I am kind of interested in that too. I guess some people have gotten the abilities already, but it'll be a long time till I get them. I don't even know if they probably won't be the first things I purchase, or I probably imagine I'll probably get all the sigils before even touching these. But somebody like, I imagine maybe David will purchase them quickly if he, well, at least if he enjoys the content and things like that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dalen, from Facebook over there. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I probably won't have them from a long time either. I'm really just waiting for PVM perspective, basically. AKA, I'm just waiting for David to buy them and tell me if they're any good or not. Now, is David gonna actually grind them out? Is he committed to grinding them out? Because this isn't your typical just like PVM like here a boss money making opportunity here.
No, I mean, I do not. I don't want to say that he is yet. He hasn't said anything specifically to me. I'm saying if he enjoys the content,
I want him
we'll get
to.
some tests from him.
Sarah just said Remy, he just finished the gold challenge and said it was tough, but gave him 1 million anima as a reward. How long did it take to get that 1 million anima would be my question.
When I did it yesterday, it took me about 20 minutes. Remy is a better PBMer than I am, so it was probably quicker for him. But for me, it was about 20 minutes.
So you did do the gold challenge?
I did it yesterday, yeah.
Does it change every day, or are you just saying you completed it yesterday?
I'm not sure. I had heard that the challenges were weekly, and DX brought up a good point today that today was Wednesday, so it might have just been the Wednesday reset. For stuff that might have happened there, but I heard that they were weekly, but I don't know yet for sure.
Okay, it's good to know. Good to know.
And it's the same challenge. Like it's the same challenge today as it was yesterday. It's just this morning when I tried to do it, I was more half asleep than I was last night, so it kind of just didn't feel like putting in the effort to actually get it done.
They're supposedly to change every Wednesday at the same time as the Penguins reset. So.
Yeah, it's the big reset that happens with like all of the major mini games every Wednesday, right? Like at the server tick.
That's what I learned on the Friday stream that Jagex did.
Elite says, for contrast, the silver challenge gives 500,000, and I could do it pretty easily. So that's interesting. There's a pretty big jump in difficulty, but hey, if you're doubling the reward, I guess you can double the difficulty. Electric saying, first I hated RuneScape 07 and I like RuneScape 3. Now I play 07 and hate RS3. How come you can't like both of them at the same time? Like, I've always wondered that, like, why do you have to hate one version of the game? Why not just like them both for what they are? Anyway, Slayer masks.
Before we continue on, Happy Hour is now underway at the fair.
It is indeed. If you are interested in getting yourself some sweet free tokes, get to the fair now. And of course, I mean tokens.
And tokens as well.
Yeah, and tokens. Anyway. I'm glad someone was picking up what I'm putting down there. Slayer masks. All previously released Slayer masks are now available for purchase inside of Shattered Worlds as well. So that's pretty great. But I hear they're like insane amounts of anima to unlock. So good luck.
Yeah, this has been an issue with every. Well, not every. It's like this. It's amazing to me. Like the skilling outfits, Jagex has made them fair to get in game. The elite ceiling outfits are super fair to get. Even the regular ceiling outfits that they added now, that you get pieces of them pretty quickly when you do the activities, and they all come from Treasure Hunter. But like when they added high Hanto armor, that the amount of shit required for high Hanto armor is still astoundingly ridiculous. And now when you look at this, like I think the Ganodermic Slayer mass is like 163 million anima, and just in contrast, like the abilities themselves are like 63 million anima, so it's like more than double the price of the abilities. It's kind of astounding how much they are.
You know what's really weird is I've got pretty much almost all those masks already.
Yeah, same here. I think there's a few that I don't, but there's like 90% of them that I do, and I'm okay with that. It's more for people who haven't been around as long as I have, and I think that it's fine that after like a decade practically that these masks are, I know I'm being slightly hyperbolic there, but after such a long time, basically, since Squeal came out, that finally these people can get these masks who haven't had as many of an opportunity as perhaps maybe someone like myself has. So I'm cool with it.
Sarah's saying it's 134 million anima for the Gano mask. So
yeah, wow.
I was off there a bit. So still expensive, but not quite what I was saying.
Yeah, I know it definitely varies per mask, or there's different like classes of mask, and I think the more expensive ones are 134 mil. I'd be more than happy to help out with that mage. Well, cool, contact me. I would love to get an old school RuneScape podcast going. We've tried it before a couple of times, and it's just kind of fallen through. So yeah, if you're interested in producing an old school RuneScape podcast and you want to do so, hit me up, show@runeweek.com. Be more than happy to talk about it. Anyway.
And I think the nice thing
yeah.
about the Slayer mask too, it's not like this is something, so where I will say where the price is kind of okay, because you don't need every single one of them. It's not like it's a comp requirement or you're ever going to use all of them. So like there's probably like, if you're min-maxing, there's probably like 3 there that you want. And if you are...
Mask of the Eru, Mask of the Abyss. Sorry.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That's why there's a certain ones that are like 134 and the rest of them are like 34.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry, I've interrupted you twice now.
Oh, no problem. And like if you're mid-level, then of course you'll go for different ones. But that's I think the one thing with it kind of makes me somewhat okay with the price, even though it is high. I think it's kind of fair because it's not like it's something you have to collect every single one of.
Fair enough, yeah. You don't need them. They're just bonuses. So it's just, hey, you've spent a buttload of time here in Shattered Worlds. Cool. We have Slayer masks for you. Excuse me. So we also get pets. What is a major update without pets, of course? The Abyssal Hound is a rare drop from Shattered World reward chests, which can be opened after completing a run of world or after completing a weekly challenge. The evolving animal creature can be purchased from the Shattered Worlds reward shop as well. The pet has 9 tiers, which can be purchased, each of which changes its appearance. So 2 pets. One is a rare drop from inside the reward chest, and the other one you could purchase and then upgrade, which I think 2 pets. Pretty cool. They're both cute, too. I like them. Have you gotten a chance to see both the pets? I have to say I do really like the fact that like one of them evolves with your progress, basically. That's kind of cool.
I think you need 170 million anima just to get all the stages of that one. I think that you're talking about the one that evolves.
I wouldn't put it past Jagex to do that. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see here. Sarah says I'm on floor 70 with 12.4 million anima, and the Mask of the Troll is 13 million. I swear that's a troll in of itself. Yeah, right? For real. So there you go. We got some posts about Shattered Worlds here too, so let's jump into those. This first one is by the God Guthix, who says Shattered Worlds calculations and solutions. It says here, so with all the posts about Shattered Worlds, I decided to do some math and try and figure out what anima rates should be based on similar rewards that are already in game and what current anima rates I found. So first up, masks, Slayer masks specifically. At the moment, the best Slayer masks cost 135 million anima, with the current anima rates being at about 6.38 million an hour. With this, it takes 21.2 hours per high-level mask. This is only for very skilled players. So if you're min-maxing, basically, it would take you roughly, almost 22 hours of gameplay.
I also think it's important to say that like these numbers are very much
Tentative.
unknown as how accurate they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, take this post with a grain of salt.
Yes, I should have disclaimed that before I started reading. You are 100% correct. This has literally been up for 1 day. This is a Reddit post that was submitted 14 hours ago. Information is subject to change, and we very well may be having new information for you on Friday. So yes, keep that in mind as we read through this.
We have more fair nerfs yet, so
yeah, right.
Just to re-screw up the calculations a bit more.
Hopefully not, but you never know. So they say here Silverhawks, which are in my opinion more OP than the Slayer masks, cost 750 Thaler. If you do a spotlight minigame for the Thaler, it takes 12.5 hours to get. No matter what level of player, you can't do this any faster or slower. So their first comparison here is the fact that Silverhawk boots take so much less time to get. However, you have to charge Silverhawk boots with money, like a lot of it. So you don't have to do that with a Slayer mask. So right off the bat, in my opinion, apples and oranges. Bad comparison, but I'll let them continue. This means that the masks take about 8.7 hours more to get than Silverhawks, and it takes a lot less skill. I think that if an extremely skilled PVMer wanted to go for these masks, it should take no more than 5 hours, and an average player, it should take no more than 10 hours to the reward players who put in the effort. This means max anima rates should be around 27 million an hour, and the average should be about 13.5 million an hour. I don't agree with that. So first off, that's in regards to the masks. So thoughts. They're comparing it to Silverhawks. I don't agree that it's fair to compare them to Silverhawks, as their mechanics are very different. One costs money, one is a permanent upgrade in the game for you that just renews every day. Their mechanics are too different for them. Yes, they both are treasure hunter items in the same way that, yes, so is the 200 million cash stack and this. Those are also both treasure hunter items. But beyond that, I'm sure you could draw other comparisons that are more similar, but point being...
Yeah, and there are two types of feathers, too, for the Silverhawks.
Sure.
The Silverhawk feathers and the Silverhawk downs as well, so they're two different things.
Point
well,
being,
so different pricing.
One costs a lot of money to charge, the other one costs time to charge,
a lot of Thalers.
And the other one doesn't require any charge whatsoever once you've purchased it ever again for the duration of its existence in your bank. Harley, did you want to get in there?
I think the one part that I do agree with is the difficulty thing. Like, basically, they've made it so that like your first time, and Jagex has already said it, there's going to be changes. So like literally as we say this, they could release a news post that changes the fact of what I'm saying. But they've made it so that like it's basically the best way to get anima is to unlock new levels.
Yeah,
and basically, like at 100 plus, your accuracy is so low that unless you're super freaking good at the game, it becomes near impossible to unlock new levels. So I think that's the part I agree with. Where the nice thing about Thaler is it's a passive thing that you're always gaining, and it's at the same rate no matter how good you're doing in a minigame. And I think they need to do some balancing with Shattered Worlds to be a little.
But you can be bad at Shattered Worlds and still get anima. Like, that's
not at a good rate though.
But if you're bad, why should they reward you for being good? This is a game of skill, not a game of welfare. That's what I'm hearing though from you, is you're saying Thaler is just given to you for being there, which is a huge problem because people just AFK and do nothing and ruin minigames. Not that they weren't already ruined, but point being that Thaler is not helping because people just sit there and AFK because exactly what you're saying. There's no skill required, so why would they bother? So why would you want to introduce something like that again? So then people could just sit there and get the same... I would be really angry if someone min-maxing got the same rate as someone who was just purely AFKing. Or not paying attention at all and screwing the minigame up badly. That's my concern, at least. Is I have no problem with maybe making this a little more forgiving overall, because it is a little rough, and not everyone has hundreds of hours to spend on one minigame, per se. But on the flip side, I don't want to see a scale that basically just rewards you for not having any skill at combat. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't really have any skill at combat. Thoughts? All right, I'll continue on then. This means that masks take about 8.7 hours more than Silverhawks, and it takes a lot less skill. I think that if an extremely skilled PVMer wants to go for these masks, it should take no more than 5 hours at an average. So, again, I don't know, 5 hours for the average. I think that's what we should really look at here is what should the time be? Like, what should it take? How many hours should it take per mask? And then maybe it should be balanced around that instead? So if like the elite Slayer masks, for instance, and I'm using the term elite, like, just because I want to, meaning like Abbey Demon, Erut, the good ones, basically. If you say that, oh, well, that needs to take 10 hours to complete, if you're a max level combat person, I suppose then you could try and balance it around that, but purely just putting everyone on the same level just because no one wants, everyone should get the rewards at the same time is definitely not how I would do it. I don't know. Anyway, there's abilities here as well. Right now, abilities cost 63 million anima, which will take the current anima rates around 10 hours to get. Per ability, I assume? If we look at the anima islands, such as the Tuska minigame, you get again, these correlations are, in my opinion, very poorly drawn here. Like, of all things, the Tuska minigame that nobody plays. If we look at the Anima Islands in the Tuska minigame, you get 1,000 points per game, which takes 20 minutes to complete, meaning you get 3,000 per hour. There are 4 abilities. I guess that's why they're going there, is the fact that those give abilities. Okay. At least that makes a little more sense to me now. There are 4 abilities you can get from this minigame: Sacrifice, Devotion, Transfigure, and Tuska's Wrath. The abilities cost 3,500 points, which, with the exception being Tuska's Wrath, which costs 4,000, meaning it costs 14,500 points for all of them, making a total of 15 games or 5 hours to get if you are going for just one ability, and a max of 4 games or 1 hour and 20 minutes per ability. So it's 1 hour and 20 minutes per ability, and I guess you have to look at how strong those abilities are versus how strong these abilities are. As again, someone who's really not strong in the realm of combat, I couldn't really probably even speculate on that too much. Anyone else want to jump in here?
I think the best ability to get from the Tuska minigame is definitely Tuska's Wrath, because of how effective it is on Slayer tasks.
What does that have to do with the question I just posed?
Well, you mentioned Tuska, so you mentioned Tuska, and I'm just describing it.
Thanks.
Yeah, what one would be the best ability?
Harley? Were you saying something?
I think they're about comparable, because I think if you just compare it level-wise, I think these abilities are level 65, and Tuska's Wrath is level 50, and I think
is it really?
I mean, Tuska's Wrath is slightly lower in level-wise, but I feel like it's not like these are like level 90 plus abilities or something like that as far as requirements go.
So they're fairly similar. Is that what you're saying as far as in level requirement?
Yeah. And I think Tuska's Wrath is an ability that I think has like a niche use in PVM, while I feel like these will probably be more of a widespread use. And I'm not talking about the other abilities that come with Tuska's minigame, because those are from previous world events, as people probably know. So like, I don't know that they can be fully tracked, even though they are unlockable there. You can also unlock those just by AFKing in God Wars 1. So yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my puny little mind around the concept that each of the Shattered Worlds abilities sound like they take 10 hours to get, roughly, if you're decent at combat, if not even, maybe even good at combat. Yet these took 1 hour to get each, and they're lower level, and I don't know. Maybe that is too much. I don't know.
Well, I think where the track comes in is how useful they're going to be. Like, these 2 abilities you're going to use all the time. Like, especially the melee one. The melee one is a basic. If you use Revolution, you won't even cast it yourself. You just have it automatically going.
Sure.
And the other one is a really good threshold. It is it's going to be, and at least just assuming from what it looks like. We don't have testing yet, so this could be wrong. But from what it looks like, it's going to be one of the best 2-handed range thresholds.
That's
So,
another
like,
thing I didn't take into consideration is basics versus threshold, and yeah.
Yeah, the utility of these is much higher than what the utility of Tuska's Wrath is.
Basically, I need to just shut up and wait for PVM perspective to figure it out, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me continue on here. I'm glad we have at least one person who knows what's going on when it comes to combat, because I don't know what the hell's going on. Let's see here. If we were to bring these abilities in line with the Anima Island abilities at the current cost, you would need Anima rates to be at about 47.25 million Anima an hour. This is a lot of Anima per hour, so if you want to balance around the masks, the cost of the abilities should be 6.4 to 12.8, depending on how long you think it should take a very skilled player. So, advocating to bring the cost of the abilities down opposed to the... And that was another thing, is like, I don't necessarily think we need to maybe increase the amount of Anima gained, but instead just lower the cost of the rewards. I don't know, because I always felt like the when I was gaining Anima, it always felt rewarding, which to me tells me enough Anima is flowing into the game that they've like peaked in their ability to make me feel good as far as gaining rewards go. So to give me more is not going to make the minigame any better. I think it would make more sense just to lower maybe the cost of some of these rewards.
I could definitely agree with that. I mean, I think
It should be on a
as I've
reward by
talked about
reward
bef-
basis. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. As I've talked about before, I think that one of my biggest problems with modern RuneScape is how preposterous some of their numbers are getting. And Anima is one of those things now where, like,
Yeah.
like we're talking about this thing cost 134 million Anima, and it's like, why couldn't we just make it 1,000 Anima or 10,000 Anima and make the gain rate slower, or even 100,000, something like that. That
I was gonna
is
say,
more
knock one of
computable
the
in my
zeros
head.
off. That way, instead of it being 160 million, it'd be 160,000 or something.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
Yeah,
you
just
don't
drop
want
a zero.
Yeah, drop a zero. That's what I thought when I saw the
Would that break
when I
anything?
saw the Jagex stream. Is I felt it was maybe a little bit too much.
Mm.
The cost, and I figured, you know what, knock a zero off.
Knocking a zero
Well,
off.
yeah, knocking a zero off would be extreme.
I would be okay with it, but it might cause problems later. I don't. Hey, God. Sorry, just freaking allergies. The only thing I can think of is in later worlds, maybe it would become a problem. But if anything, it would just become, I think, an issue as far as the later worlds might not be rewarding enough.
I mean,
Is the only thing I
think
can think of. Maybe.
I think it would be too extreme. Like if you're 63, like the abilities are 63 mil. If they went to 6.3 mil for an ability, that's basically an hour of time for someone who's decent, 2 hours
Yeah.
for someone who's not. Like that would be a little bit too low. I think that also something we have to keep in mind too is that those of us who have been streaking from the beginning can't really judge rates, because the real rates don't come in until you've unlocked all your first time rewards, and then you're going back through the same floors again.
That is very
that's
valid,
where you have to judge the base rates for.
XSplit chat has completely died again, so bear with me. If you want to read through the pets while I fix chat, feel free to do so. It's gonna take me a minute here.
I do not have the topics up. I can try to get this.
Alright, I've got it. At the moment, the highest tier pet costs a total of 175.7 million Anima, which at current rate takes 27.5 hours to get. The closest thing I can think of was Soul Wars pets, which cost between 5 and 100 zeal. You can get up to 7.83 zeal per hour if you win all games. Well, that's not true. If you win all games, you get bloody 9 zeal per hour, and it's 20 minutes. So there's 7. I don't know where you got the 7.83 from.
I'll be honest, I've literally like never played Soul Wars, like ever, like once maybe.
In my opinion,
you get three.
Good night,
Three zeal
Pernasius.
for a win. You get three zeal for a win, 2 points for a draw, and 1 for a loss.
Okay. So the sigils at the moment cost 45 million. Take around 7 hours to get 1. I can't. I see. Here's my problem with all of this is I come from the age of RPG where it could take you years to figure something out, and I'm okay with that. Like, so when somebody tells me, "Oh, it's 40 hours to unlock this ability," I'm like, "Okay, better get started." Like, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. It's an RPG. That's how they are.
Well,
like, it just doesn't bother me.
I mean, you say that, but you've also not done Live at Farm. Like, I mean, it just
Yeah,
there is a certain
that's fine.
trade-off.
I mean, but I will do Live at Farm. I don't do Live at Farm because it doesn't tickle my fancy. It's not engaging game content. I don't enjoy that type of game content. But I like Shattered. I would totally play Shattered Worlds for 40 hours. You know, like back when Dungeoneering came out, I actually liked it. Back before EOC ruined it and made it like just basically running through each room, killing everything as fast as possible. But back when it was actually like an active dungeon crawler and you could die and floors took 20, 30 minutes, Dungeoneering was fun. And I did spend like hours and hours down there and whatnot. Like, I'm okay with it if the content is good. If the content can back it up, I'm totally fine with a 40-hour grind. If the content is bad, then yeah, it's a different story, I suppose. Live and Farm, bad content. Grinding Castle Wars, 4 months, bad content.
In my opinion, also the pet and the cosmetic are two things that they don't need to. Like, if they were to do the idea we've had where they just reduce the price by like 20%. Like, I would say reducing this hero would be extreme, but like 20 to 30%. Like, leave the pet and the outfit alone. Like, those things could honestly take 100 hours and that would be fine. It would just mean it would be a prestigious cosmetic. It's not like you're gaining anything by having this pet except for a cosmetic. And like, that's completely okay. You know, if there was a title or something tied to this, or there was a comp requirement, it would be a different story. But since it's tied to nothing except for you have this cool cosmetic, it's totally fine with that taking 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours. I mean, I'm going a bit extreme right now, but like, honestly, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
If cosmetics take that long.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with everything taking that long, but I'm much in the minority, and I am well aware of that. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I like the idea of prestigious grinds. But hey.
And I don't mind stuff taking time either. I think part of the problem is there's such an efficiency outlook in the game that, like, if these abilities took that long to unlock, you know, if it took like 50 hours per ability, like, people just wouldn't do the content to get the abilities.
You're probably
Some people
right.
would do it for fun, but like, there would be like every high-level PLM be like, oh, it's an efficiency waste. I'm not going to spend my time there. I could just go, you know, I can already, you know, it's just like a 2% damage increase versus the amount of time it takes. It's not worth it.
This is why I keep my mouth shut a lot of the times when it comes to stuff like, because I get that, like, yeah, efficiency-wise, that is definitely not efficient to play like that, but or to even have goals like that, like people are just gonna be like, I'm not gonna spend 40 hours to get a 0.2% change in my shit when I could be spending that time making billions of gold. Like, I get that makes sense, and then there will be the few that are like, yes, I will spend my time doing that, because then in their own mind, then they're better than all their friends. You know, it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
But you know, I like rare prestige. Like, I like seeing, like, holy crap, that person actually took the time to do that. Oh, and maybe that, I don't know. That might just be. I think that just comes from a different era. It comes from a very different era of MMO, and it's not necessarily. It's an unpolished one for sure. Good.
I mean, I still think there's that part in RuneScape. I mean, like, one.
Oh yeah.
Keeps.
I want to see more of it. That's all.
I think the problem comes in when you have game-changing things take too much time. It becomes a problem, because you look at something like even like Max, with how much time it takes, and if you're not maxed, people won't do certain bosses with you. Well, not everybody, but a lot of teams like won't go to Nex with you or something like that, because it takes you 30 seconds longer per kill to walk back to God Wars, and things like that. So you run when you lock super powerful rewards behind a crap ton of time, you run risks of it basically becoming a barrier to entry for newer players. So I am personally, I like prestigious things. I'm just personally more of a fan of the most prestigious things being cosmetics, which is why I'm like, you know, make the pet take 1,000 hours, make the outfit take 1,000 hours, but let people get the abilities in a reasonable amount of time.
I get that. It's like it's a thing where you have to be careful of not setting a double standard. Of being like, well, this is super hard to get, but everything else is easy making. Then you are creating a prestige thing. I would just actually like to see the whole game be like that. And again, from a very different era of gaming. Like, if everything in the game acted like that, and you'd still see tons of people walking around in Bandos like it was freaking valuable, you know? And that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, I'm not advocating for that to be how RuneScape is at all. I'm just purely stating an opinion of why I like Shattered Worlds the way it is, because secretly that's how I like that. That's my play style, like deep down. I love 120s, love the idea of just super crazy amounts of XP being required for things. That's just me. That's just how I've always liked and played the game. And what I think originally attracted me to RuneScape so much is even what the devs said, they didn't think anyone would ever make it to 99, because 13 million XP in a skill was a ridiculous thing to ask in RuneScape Classic. And even then people still did it with you know, the proper coordination and help. So I think because I was bred in the RuneScape Classic age, I was molded, you see, to fit that, and now that's just who I am now. I was created by that era. So when people complain, I roll my eyes, but at the same time, I'm also like, yeah, I kind of understand too.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to strike too,
Yeah.
especially, you know, like when you play in a world like this, like, you know, the way video games work, things basically have to become easier if you want people to stay engaged with the content.
We have the
and
same,
you want new players to come in and things like that.
We fight with the same issue in the security world of balancing usability with security. It's like there's a fine line you're constantly towing between making it easy enough that people will use your security implementation, but making it secure enough that it's still actually a viable security implementation. I think the same kind of teeter-totter can be applied to RuneScape, or any game, really. It's like, you want to make the game hard enough that it's fun, but you don't want to make the game so hard that everyone's like, fuck this, except for 5 people. So, yeah, I get that. And I'm on the end of saying that things should be way longer than they need to be, just because I have the patience for that type, but I think on average, the average person would be bored, and I think the average person is bored and put off by things like 120s. Like, I get it. I'm totally in the minority, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Which is why I need people like you and DX to come around and be like, no, actually, not everyone thinks that 68 million anima or 40 hours for a single thing is a good idea, because I would totally just like, okay. Anyway, let me continue on here.
You don't have to do it all straight away. You just take your time. Just do a little bit now and do a little bit later. You don't exactly have to get it all right away.
That's another thing that we, I think, as a community, have a problem with. And I say I have that problem as well. Like, doing things in just little bits is something like I think a lot of people have trouble with, and it's really easy to say, well, hey, just, you know, take it one thing at a time. You know, you don't have to gain 1 million XP a day. Like, you don't have to do it like that. RuneScape's not going anywhere, we hope.
Especially, I totally back that up. I am definitely a player who plays very, very sporadically. Like, the only skill that I've ever really like sat down and grinded out, and the only thing in RuneScape is like when I went from like 80 to 99 Slayer, and it made me get super frustrated even just trying to do that, and that's not even like a super hard grind. I am a kind of person who's like, I'll do this skill for like a couple days, and then I'll hop over here and I'll do some bossing, and then I'll hop over here and I'll do this mini game. Like, I am definitely, I know I'm in the minority of that type of player.
I used to be that type of player. So I can relate to that, but
I have zero idea how you got your 120 divination cape. Like, I can't even bring myself to get 99 divination. So, like, yeah, shit like that blows my mind.
I changed. Like, as I used to play like you play, I used to do little bits of everything, and just whatever I felt like doing at the time is what I did. And around the age of, like, when the hell did this start? Probably when I turned, like, 26, 27. I was just like, I'm going for long. I think what really happened is I maxed, and then I was like, oh, shit, what do I do now? And that's when things really changed as far as how I play the game. RuneScape not going anywhere? Does that mean there's no obligatory RuneScape as tying thread? We don't have one for this show, actually. So I guess your logic is sound, Lurker Noob. Let me continue on here, shall we? Here we have another post by Nolan Wiki, who says, this is basically the anima farming do's and don'ts for tier 90 weapon owners. And it says here, this is a quick guide, assuming Shattered Worlds hasn't been changed. So this is, you know, as is for release. So as of right now, this information might be valuable. It could change. Here we go. Don't start at 0 unless you are intentionally using the run for scavenging 3 components.
Oh yes, I use the scavenging thing when I rain.
Yeah, apparently scavenging is like amazing in there, so now I kind of wish I had that perk.
And it's OP.
They might nerf that. Do push to 105. Huh?
I don't know if they'll nerf it because I mean it's the same thing in God Wars 2.
Oh, okay.
Where if you hop worlds and kill like a bunch of God Wars 2 things, and I imagine it would be similar in the Abyss because I think it's based on like per monster you kill. So it's just the fact that it's just more people are killing giant chains of things, so they're noticing how it can be used.
Fair enough.
I also still don't think like from a pure like efficiency breakdown, it's probably not still worth it, which isn't to discourage people because if that's how you enjoy playing, then go for it. But I would imagine that still the best way to get the perks, of course, is going to be to boss the money and then buy the item. But I think it's good to have these alternatives for people who either can't make that type of money or just don't like playing.
Some people just like to go off the beaten trail, and we should have other less beaten trails for them to go down. Let's see. Do push to 105 at 1 million bonuses. 105 is still sane and worthwhile. From 85 to 105, you'll be sharply depending on explosive, charged, aftershock, and other damage sources that ignore block chances. If you find that 105 is incredibly difficult for you, try again some other time. Do streak 40 to 80 or some sub range. It was about 2.3 million anima for a 45-minute run. It's still rewarding, and your hit chance will be above 80% in most circumstances. It should be 100% below World 75. Again, this is with tier 90s. Good.
It's fantastic. It's funny to see how different the numbers are, right? Because that last person was quoting like 6.3 mil an hour, and this guy's saying 2.3 mil in 45 minutes. Like we can just see the wide range.
Yeah.
Like we don't know
of skill levels. Yeah, we don't know where anything. And Jagex has said that before. Is like we laugh as you peasants try to figure out XP per hours and whatnot, and like. They think it's funny, which is why they made the ARC thread back when they made the ARC thread for XP rates, was because people kept posting these wildly outrageous XP rates that were not accurate at all. So they gave us actual numbers so people would stop doing that, and here we are again, posting wildly differing numbers. So here we have... Now, this person is streaking from 40 to 80. That other person didn't mention how they were playing. Getting 6 million an hour. They didn't mention if they were running through it as their first run. They didn't mention if they were going from 0 to 100. They didn't mention if they're going from 40 to 80. So again, information is missing, and that's how it's going to be for the first week for sure. Let's see here. Gear. Don't take melee without taking something else. Meleeing monsters while the explosive mutator is active can become uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, man. That's putting it lightly. You take the arachnophobia silver objective in that Shattered Worlds, man, and you do the hurricane, your hurricane attack. That's it. You're dead.
That's good to know.
You can blow them all up in one hit, and it does take all your hit points straight away. I did that one time. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was doing all right for myself until I did that.
Coming from Facebook, William saying, I agree with lowering the cost of the items in Shattered Worlds. So the anima cost, I assume.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think we are going to see a nerf on at least select items in the anima shop. I think some of them are... I think a lot of people have that sentiment.
I imagine they'll probably do. I think it's probably easier for them to do it to need like an increase of drop. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think they're probably gonna instead increase how much you get. I would say they'll probably increase how much you get by like 10%, and then probably the biggest change we'll see is probably how quickly you lose accuracy, because I think that's honestly one of the biggest issues. Isn't even like the anima rates, because if you could push more floors, it wouldn't be as big of an issue, right? Because then you would still be getting that new anima buff. But the fact that you have to go back to old floors so soon, to me, is kind of one of the biggest flaws in the design of this. We talked a little bit in some of our streams where I kind of wish that they had done something where they either released armor that was only usable within Shattered Worlds itself, or something like made the the sigil slot, a place where you could put an accuracy boosting item. I think it would have been fascinating if we could earn like level up to like level 200 armor within Shadow Worlds that could only be used in there, but would give us, like huge accuracy increases. That way, when you're like going to like World 500, you're wearing this level 200 armor that just it makes you insanely awesome. Which is, that's kind of how stuff like Diablo or any roguelike works. Is armor is a big part of how they scale things, and I think that's one part that's kind of missing in Shadow Worlds itself. Is there's no way for them to scale you with time, because the armor you get comes from the outside world, and which means it's balanced for the outside world. Where if they could balance the armor specifically for Shadow Worlds, I think it would allow them to do a bit more interesting things.
That would be interesting, to say the least. Elite's got jokes. RuneScape is dying for Invention Batch 2. I like that. What if it resets every month and changes? In regards to what specifically? We talking Shattered Worlds? That would be a lot of work. Unless it was just an algorithm that changed.
I'm guessing maybe she's talking about like the floor reset.
Ah.
Like so your progress reset, and you had to push back up again, so you got like the first time rewards again every month. I think that would be an interesting thing. That is something else they could do. Is they could implement something like Dungeonarian, where you could just like reset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And get your first time bonus, but I'm not sure if it's balanced enough for that, because it might become like best way to do it would just be do floor 1 through 20, then reset or something silly like that, which I don't think would be healthy.
Yeah, fair enough. Let me see, where was I? We also have gear here. Continuing on, do take decent armor past World 70. Enemy accuracy and damage may begin to be a significant threat depending on your speed. Do run scavenging and mobile if at all possible. Do be willing to take a Blood Nile if you're streaking past 75. Moving on to yeah.
It's also a good time to bring up, for people who don't remember, the T85 weapons are going to be super good here. So they have tier 90 accuracy and do tier 80 damage. So if you can't afford tier 90s, T85s are going to get you the accuracy, which is what is most important in Shattered Worlds. So don't feel bad if you can't afford the Noxious Bow or something like that. You will be fine with your God Wars Dungeon 2 weapons.
I noticed during one of your streams, Harley, that you're actually using the Shadow Glavens, which were which are the two range, the offhand and on-hand range, that do the same amount of damage.
Yep, I can't. Well, I haven't made my tier 90 Noxious Bow yet. I have the web for it, but I need to sell my spider legs to make money, so I haven't made the bow yet. So until I make a Noxious Bow or get Ascensions, I will be using tier 85s. They are super good. People like tier 90s are much less of a necessity since the tier 85s came in. I mean, they're definitely still an increase, of course, but they're not like the big jump from 80 that they used to be.
Okay. How about some ability strategies? Do be unafraid to use Meteor Strike, and even a Flurry dual-wield melee switch for monster stacks of 3 or more. Do intentionally leave monsters alive to barge to later. Some world configurations will require you to double back. Using barge to double back will save significant time, probably. I like the probably in there. Do switch to ranged for Corruption Shot and Bombardment if you're up for the finger work. And do Adrenaline Stall in between worlds. Here's a traversal strategy for you. For speed in general, do leave clumps of 1-2 monsters alone or leash them into groups of 3+. The 75% requirement is generously low and lower than it sounds. Do not handle the Ancient Relic book thing below floor 50. The anima boost isn't really worth it at that point, and not all pillars are always available. There's instant anima boost, and restoration, to my knowledge. Restoration will rarely be needed. Do farm the ghost fountain thing if you're not at 75%, and do handle the warded chest regardless of world in progress. Do loot the warded chest as soon as it becomes an epic chest, regardless of world. So there you go.
I did that. I got absolutely tons of bloody anima when I did that.
Yeah, I did one of those chests. I don't know if I waited until it was an epic chest though. It still had a timer over its head, so maybe I done
Mine
screwed
became an
up.
epic chest, and that's when I rated it. Yeah.
I think I done screwed up, but I did see one of those chests at least. He has some notes here as far as ranged abilities. He says puncture is approximately 6% weapon damage per stack over the course of its usual duration in a DPS rotation. This is only because it gets reset and buffed by the subsequent mutated dazing shots. It's probably closer to 8 to 10% in a situation where it's not reset. Puncture is reset by, again, subsequent mutated dazing shots and the actual salt in the wound threshold. So you'd never want the full 10% from puncture in most cases because you'd be using mutated shot itself. Salt, the wound, deals 188% or 18% times N weapon damage, where N is the number of punctured stacks, and the puncture caps at 10 stacks. This means the following, roughly. If you are solo, Dazing Shot has a maximum of 217% weapon damage after at least 54 seconds of ramp up without missing, solidly putting it on par with flanking 3 basics. Dazing Shot's cooldown is 5.4 seconds. Regardless of whether you are in a group or solo, Salt the Wound caps at 368% weapon damage. The minimum damage with 10 stacks is 112%, or an average of 240%, solidly putting it above flanking 3 thresholds and slightly worse than Snapshot on average. Two-handed range now outpaces dual wield situations where it reliably takes less than 3 people to maintain puncture. So in situations where there is less than 3 people needed to maintain puncture, according to this post here, it now outperforms dual wield. I don't know if I 100% understand or agree with that, but hey, it's food for thought, and I look forward to the experts.
I always felt that two-handed stuff works better than dual wield. That's what I've always felt, but I can't say it 100% because I really haven't tried it to compare it. But that's my thoughts.
My understanding is from people who have done the numbers themselves is that it probably won't replace
flanking
dual wielding still as
dual
best
wielding.
DPS. Yeah, dual wielding will probably still stand best DPS. This will make it better. And the thing about a lot of dual wielding best DPS for range also relies on using full manual. So it may be that for Revolution, two-hander may become the best DPS because if you want to get the best DPS out of range, I believe you have to cancel I think you have to cancel snipe early and things like that. I don't do it myself, but there's some dual wield abilities that just don't work right under the settings provided by Revolution, which is by far the most popular. I think the most popular way people do combat in the game. So it may become the best AFK XP or AFK damage, but not the best min-max damage.
Fair enough. Good to know. Good to know because honestly, I mean, I wouldn't know the difference to be honest with you. So I'm glad we have some combat people who do. Anyway, we are still on the topic of Shattered Worlds here with our next thread. This next one is by Nalavici, very common Redditor, and this one has not been upvoted as much as their other posts. It says, here's why the animal rates are completely unbalanced. Shattered Worlds isn't endgame content. Here we go. To all the maxed circle jerks on both sides of the debate, did you ever pause to wonder why this game was just so boring for the first 50 floors or so? Or why rewards like Sigils weren't that amazing for the grind time it took? And why there's only maybe 4 masks that are worth anything, and even those are far too expensive? Or why it took maybe 16 hours of grind to get your second ability that was only tier 65? Allow me to let you in on a little secret. Shattered Worlds is not endgame content. You breeze through the first 50 worlds like they weren't even there, while the average, and yes, above average players started to slow down around 35 to 40. Despite what Reddit might entice you to think, RuneScape's player base is not majority maxed. These rewards might have a pretty huge impact on the non-max players like myself, past the point of just a 13% DPS boost against Yakamaru in Mirage phase. I'm personally right on the edge of being able to do some higher level PVM like Corp and God Wars 2 by myself and need a new ability, and a new ability might be the turning point. While I'm 99 Slayer, some of those masks could be invaluable to someone who's not. Those sigils could make things like slaying when you don't have the money for aggression potions much easier. It's actually kind of what I said earlier. And so here's the problem. All of those rewards I mentioned, the abilities, the masks, are so far out of my reach, and my mouse just screwed everything up, thank you so much, are so far out of my reach, they might as well not exist. I think the general consensus in the max community here is that if you grind out the right floors, you can hit 4 million anima an hour. Well, that's lovely. I'll go do levels 70 through 85 over and over with max efficiency in my augmented subjugated robes and Arma battle staff. What do you think I could get? 2 million? 1.5 million an hour? Yeah, sure. Let me just farm anima for 30 plus hours for one ability. How about all the other rewards? What about other players who might not even have subjugation? Go ahead.
So I don't mean to clear, but I feel like it's important to say that as far as abilities go, the level to usability has very, very little to do with how useful it's going to be in combat.
Heck yeah.
Like, I can look at like my melee rotation and cleave, which is the best two-handed basic in melee to use. It's a level 48 ability, like, and you don't have to unlock it by doing anything. So it's it's kind of a false equivalency that they're trying to pull off here, with those specifically.
Yeah, and it's never been a case where the weapon level the ability level has really meant anything more than like, hey, this is just a bare minimum to use this, basically. Like, it's what you do with your abilities that make them useful, not their levels, for sure. For all intents and purposes, this is supposed to be directed at players on the lower side of the combat scale. That's why the first 50 levels were a breeze for you, and they weren't for us. And that's why all but 4 masks are useless to you, and they aren't to everyone else. The other 80 to 90% of the active player base. Jagex, you QA tested using best in slot gear and proudly proclaimed your anima rates were balanced. So perhaps I'm wrong in all of this. Who is this minigame directed at? We all know it can't be directed at everyone, and if it is, it's done a real shit job of it. The rewards are mid-tier at best, most of them anyway, but the requirements are actually absurd to be able to farm anima. I don't have best in slot gear, neither does 90% of the game audience. Maybe the reason all of your new content dies so goddamn fast is because you can't get anywhere without best in slot gear and maxed stats. So
you can absolutely farm this. You should not be able to farm max efficiency without best in slot gear, though. Like,
I agree. Yeah,
what the hell?
This person is basically one of the people who are just saying, "Oh, this is going to be like 40 hours of work to get anything." I just want I want all my rewards immediately.
I want max efficiency without having to put in max amount of work, which is which is stupid. Like, it's not how this shit should be balanced in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, he had one point that I was going to make here. That's what he says. That's why the first 50 levels were a breeze for you and they weren't for us. But no, the first 50 levels were a breeze for us. Yeah, because they were for you. Like, this content is for everybody. It's just like, it's in the same vein as Dungeoneering. The first, like, 30 levels of Dungeoneering are for people leveling low-level Dungeoneering, and that's why you rush through them later on. And go figure. They went one step and made it even better, didn't add a stupid-ass prestige system, and now you can just start from anywhere you want without being penalized for it. If anything, they improved on the Dungeoneering system by allowing you to just basically...
To be honest, I kind of struggle between level 16 and level 20. I'm not really much of a PVMer. That's probably the reason why I struggled during those 5 levels.
I think there's nothing, that's all... That's definitely
everyone has
everyone
has a different play style, and that's totally fine. Like, yeah,
I mean, it took me. I've probably started struggling a little only recently, like maybe around floor 50 or something like that, is when it actually started struggling. I've done it all streaming, so it's hard for me to judge how hard it actually is because I'm like half AFK when I'm doing it, basically.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something where everybody's gonna be different. I mean, I would say I'm probably in like the top 10% of, maybe it's even lower than that. I don't know where to rate myself as far as PVM, but I'm definitely not in the majority of PVMers anymore. The majority of PVMers don't, can't kill racks like I can. So things like that. I think DX, you're probably more around the average type of people who do PVM in the game, where they do it a little bit. They aren't like super amazing at it. Things like that. They wear dragon because they wear dragon even when they're raging.
Gotta let that go. I moved up the Vandals.
I'll never
Or DX. You'll never. Yeah, it's like I'll never live down the RuneScape map incident. You'll never live down the dragon armor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or the
yeah,
rabbit proof fence.
RuneScape
Your list is a
RuneScape
little longer than mine, but yeah, we've all got our list. We've all got our list. Anyway, let's see, where was I here? So yeah, as far as this being completely unbalanced, like, I don't think it's completely unbalanced. I mean, it might be slightly unbalanced, and I might be slightly biased, which is also why I cannot say definitively that it's not unbalanced, but I can say that it's fairly decent. Go ahead, Harley.
I think the balance issues come in at maybe floor 80, between floor 80 and 100 is where balance starts to become a problem.
Okay.
Like, it's definitely an issue at the higher levels, but the
higher you go,
be fixed.
Yeah, the higher you go, the more fine-tuned the details get as far as like balancing goes, because the numbers get larger. So the smaller the changes can, a smaller change is going to have a bigger effect than on the lower floors. So yeah, but I can see that.
As far as like I totally agree with you. Like, this content is meant for people of all levels. The thing is, if you're a low level, say your combat level is 80, you shouldn't really expect to probably push past like 420 or 30, like that, and you'll have to find your farming range in there. If you want to unlock all the crap at combat level 80, you'll have to figure out in there where you can where it's best for you to farm. And the thing is, the whole time you're doing it, you'll be getting more combat levels, because it's actually pretty good XP for people of that combat level. So that's the other thing. It's like you could use this as an alternate way to max your account.
Yeah. As far as a combat update goes, this is a really solid combat update. Like, hands down.
Yeah, I thought they'd done a hell of a job with this update.
So, we have...
Oh, yes. Hang on. Before you do, I get to rub it into Harley just a little bit. It's a good thing you actually mentioned about the dragon armor that you will never let me live down. I got a hell of a lot of treasure trail items in my treasure box in my POH, and because they're going for such an inflated price right now, I could be sitting on about 300 or 400 mil worth of GP.
You might. I would look into that. Sell that shit. It's finally paying off. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
One more post in regards to Shattered Worlds before we let it die for today. And I'm sure...
because my internet is stupid.
Yeah, it sounded like either you got kidnapped or your internet cut out. One of the two.
Your internet's stupid. What about us? What about the internet for us Australians, man? We got the crappiest internet in the world.
Well, yeah. Anyway, let's see here. With the addition of Shattered Worlds, I think it's a good time to reconsider the targeting system, says low FPS, high DPS. Is this Harley's alt account? Low FPS, high DPS? Let's see here. First off,
well, considering how much I agree with this post, it might be.
First off, I'm loving this update so far. It's been super fun, and I have almost nothing but good things to say about it. This isn't so much a criticism post as it is just an idea to get the conversation rolling about improving the current targeting system. At the moment, targeting multiple enemies can be tedious as you have to continuously click one after another. This wasn't such a big deal in the past, but with Shattered Worlds you have to quickly run through so many enemies, it would be nice to have the option to be less reliant on the mouse to switch targets via the keyboard. My first thought would be to just add a target next enemy bind in the controls interface, similar to the tab grinding system in many other MMOs. So... yes, and yes. I've been literally wanting this since probably RuneScape 2. And I think that it really kind of started to happen in when the NIS system came out, and they did not do a very good job, and then it died, like it got put on the back burner, and then now everyone has completely forgot about it until seemingly right now. So I'm happy to hear.
Yeah.
this.
This is even
Target next enemy. I love it.
Yeah.
This is
Make it happen.
This is even a topic that we've talked about on the show before. It's definitely something we're considering. You know, sometimes we will complain about the tick system, and we've debated whether or not removing the tick system would hurt the game more than it would help it because it would change the feel. But like stuff like this would make combat feel smoother without having to go through the ridiculous amount of work like removing the tick system or making the tick system lower and things like that. Just you know, simple quality of life updates like something like this. If you haven't played a game that does this, it's a completely different feel to how you have to target stuff. Even in bossing, it would be
a million times better. Oh, if you had to switch between the ads and the boss itself, heck yeah. I mean,
my computer luck today is terrible. I just had my computer. I just had my client crash.
Oh man!
Right after my internet went out earlier. What the heck is going on? Anyways,
I think your computer's being Magebitted.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds like what's going on. But yeah, I think this. I also think the idea we had last week or a week or two ago, where you could like click a button so that you could click through any enemy, like to walk behind it, so you could click through like Araxi or something to walk behind her, would be amazing. I also think, you know, they talk about this being useful at Shattered Worlds. I think it would be useful at any boss with trash mobs.
Yeah.
Like if you're fighting a boss and then like 4 trash mobs you have to kill spawn, if you could just tap to them instead of having to move your mouse over to them to try to figure out where they are, it takes away the whole misclick issue.
I like how I call them ads and you call them trash mobs. Both very good terms.
Yeah, that comes from my WoW playing days. For sure.
I think ads also does, but from maybe an older time. I don't know.
Yeah, ads is definitely used too. Trash doesn't. I don't even know. There's not even anything in RuneScape that really actually
acts as
equivalent to trash. Yeah.
The only thing I can really think of is Araxi and Araxor with their like spiderlings that come out are kind of trash mobs. But you got to be careful with those because some of them can actually kill you. Yeah. Anyway.
Speaking of Araxi,
yes.
Araxi and Araxor, have you come across them in the fake versions inside Shadow
Yeah, the mini ones. Yeah, I had a small heart attack when I saw
them.
It's their ad.
It's their it's their ads. I haven't seen their actual models in there, but I can understand if you have.
The actual models do come in later.
Ooh.
Yeah, you have to fight a baby Araxor. It's pretty cool.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
David, what are your thoughts on this situation? Do you have a minute to spew? That's horrible. It sounded like he was in a public place, so he may have just wanted to drop a one-liner on us there. Anyway.
I just want to say a couple of things about Shattered Worlds. Can you
go for it?
Can you okay? Okay, so first of all, I agree with almost everything Harley said. I also think it's gorgeous and can't wait to really play it through. One thing I would say is that the way that the difficulty system works is a little bit silly to me. So I was watching my friend stream World 125 to 130, and he was using tier 92 staff and wand and offhand. And his accuracy with Runic was something like 10%.
Yeah.
So that part's like, you know, that seems a little artificial to me. It's like, it's fine, you know, if they really want to make it long. But he started bringing an extra pack yak in his pack yak and several overloads because it took him over 2 hours just to get 5 worlds.
Wow.
Not because it was difficult.
It's the accuracy, right? It seems as though that because of a lack of like I can't say because of why really, but it seems like the method they've chosen for difficulty is just to make the player as inaccurate as possible, which does seem a little cheap. Go ahead.
The other problem is I think they've vastly underestimated how far people would get on day one. So if you're watching the stream, they kind of set a target for how I think they weren't expecting people to get pushed much past 80 on the first day, and pretty much everyone who's in the tops of PVM right now is made it past 120 before the next daily reset. So I think that a lot of those later worlds weren't even fully thought out yet or something. I don't know.
It's a possibility. I mean, clearly they just didn't give too much thought, I feel like, beyond World 150, or even beyond, really, like, the hundreds in general.
Yeah, yeah. And so if it's really like in order to go from 125 to 130, I need to spend like 2 hours straight, kind of like old. You remember Fight Cave in the old days where it just took like 2-3 hours to do Jad and you couldn't log out. That's fine, but for people who are good enough to push worlds but can't sit in front of their computer for 3 hours straight, I can imagine that's going to be a little frustrating.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
definitely patience plays a role here for sure, right? And I know a lot of PVMers that don't have patience. Not trying to call out anyone in particular. I'm just saying
Even
it's generally not a shared trait. Go ahead.
But like patience isn't quite the thing though, because you have no like if you can't log out in between that time, like you can't take a break, like that it gets to the point where you're getting at that level where
Yeah.
3 hours isn't there yet, but like you take it till they're at like floor 140 and it's taking 8 hours to push 5 floors, and that's
If
just
a
unhealthy
game
gameplay
if a
time.
game is encouraging you and is forcing you to have a negative repercussion for logging out because you have been playing for more than like 2 hours straight and you'll lose your streak for stopping for trying to take a health break, that in my opinion is irresponsible of the developer if that's the case. Hey Perrin, welcome back. Twitch always lags for me. I thought you went to bed, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like at like World 100, people are having to bring multiple overload flasks because one overload flask is enough to get it done. And again, that's fine. It's like most of these people are probably, unless the reward shop changed drastically, they're just going to get their two abilities and never go back. At least at that level. But that could change if the rewards get buffed or anima changes or there are more useful things besides the two abilities. But if you have 120 Slayer, which a lot of these people already do, or if you're like myself and are extremely close to 120 Slayer, after we get the two abilities, we're probably never going to go back.
So that's how you pretty much. I mean, that's kind of what I was afraid of. Is like, are the majority of players just going to grab the abilities and dash? Like, what about the? Yeah.
We're not talking about the majority.
I meant the majority of his people. That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
No, I didn't mean majority of players in general. I just meant like people.
No, I mean like your level of play style people.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you get Puncture because Puncture is now best DPS at AOD. It's not super useful anywhere else, but at AOD it's fantastic.
Can you?
And then you get the melee dual wield ability just for memes because it looks cool, and then you probably never go back.
Can you touch upon Sigils and why you would never go back for those? Are those just not worth it? I mean, I guess they really aren't for high level PVM right now.
Because the amount of time it would take me to make the money to afford aggression potions is infinitely smaller than the amount of time it would take me to farm the anima. And then the 50% Slayer XP, I'm so close to 120 anyways that that's not a huge deal. And also, it's just I could get way faster Slayer XP than I could get 50% of that in anima. So like when I do Slayer, I average about 450k to 550k Slayer XP an hour. There's no way I could farm that much in anima.
Good to know. Good to know. So basically, it still boils down to efficiency in the sense of that it's easier to gain resources for aggression potions than it is to gain resources to charge the sigils, basically.
So I think if your main drive in this game is gold, as a lot of like the best PVMers in the game is, then like you're not gonna have like anything to keep you here, or pushing your rage and Telos. But what is actually going to keep you here is similar to what keeps people at Telos. Like I think Lit doesn't kill Telos because he's making money. He kills Telos because of the enrage, and I think people will stay at Shadow Worlds because the cap is World 4000. And to see who can get to the higher worlds is going to be the actual competition for the best PVMers in the game, not the actual rewards themselves as motivation.
I really wish that there was, like, if there were broadcasts for that stuff and ways to display it cosmetically in game, I could see a competition running. But if there aren't any ways to be recognized for it, I don't know how much people are gonna chase that.
The other problem is Telos is all of skill and consistency. It seems like from watching high-level PVMers do high worlds, it's almost entirely just a question of who's willing to put in.
It almost feels like a war of attrition watching.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that while you are absolutely right, Harley, that Lit doesn't need the money, Telos at the rate he's doing it at is still 100 mil of GP an hour. And so, while yes, it's all about the like prestige of having the highest enrage, he still streaks 0 to, he's on like a 0 to almost 2,000 streak. It's not helping him push enrage, but he is going to make like 500 mil from it or something.
That's insanity. I mean, I wish I had those skills for sure. Wish they had put into the rewards some kind of tradable item that is useful for bossing, says CyberKai. So yeah, lack of tradable items, meaning, again, this minigame has no way to make money really. And yeah, that kind of, I would say there's plenty of bossing rewards, but yeah, nothing to obviously make Shattered Worlds a profitable endeavor.
Well, yeah, but I
might
think,
turn some people off. Good.
I don't think that would make this more played content. Like if the abilities were
didn't work for the
or
arc,
something,
so yeah.
like making stuff tradable, I don't think would help here specifically. Like I think the interesting thing, the most interesting thing about this is going to be sigils, and Jagex has already said it's going to be more sigils coming with Menaphos, and it's a whole new slot. So like we could see sigils added every couple of months, and they will, I would guess, always go into Shattered Worlds, and at some point, one of them is going to catch the fancy of PVMers.
All they have to do is put in a sigil that boosts DPS even 1%.
Yeah. And I don't even care if the sigil isn't obtainable via Shattered Worlds as long as it requires Shattered Worlds to recharge it. That's all that matters.
I think sigils are just going to be obtainable there, to be honest. I think that's
I would rather see him as quest rewards, to be honest with you, and then just force you back to Shattered Worlds to keep it recharged. Maybe even a quest that is surrounding Shattered Worlds, like it is a new Void quest series type deal where instead of the pest, now we're going into
cool.
Yeah, now we're going into these like dimensions, these shattered dimensions.
I don't know about the reward thing, but I would love to see a quest about Shattered Worlds. Like there ought to be a quest.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been a Void quest in forever.
I think that would be awesome. And then it unlocks 3 new badass sigils upon completion. Like there's a good start for you right there, Jagex. Get your shit together. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that would be I would be down. Harley, what are your thoughts? Good.
I mean, I wouldn't mind a quest, but I think sigils are more important for keeping the minigame alive than as quest rewards, in my opinion.
I mean,
I would rather have them like give you like 1 million anima or like even like 20 million anima for doing a quest than have them give you a straight up sigil.
My thing about that is like 6 months down the road, they add 3 new sigils to Shattered Worlds, and that's it. It's just, let's go replay the same minigame you released a while ago with some, just add new rewards and call it new content. Like, I feel like people would complain about that.
Well, I mean, I think Shattered Worlds has the potential to be like it's.
If Shattered Worlds in 6 months, people are actively like still having fun with it, then yeah, okay, cool. I'm totally fine with that. But it's very well possible, as David's saying, like maybe that sentiment that David's type of players have might spread, and people might just get the abilities and not go back for the most part. I'm not saying that is going to happen. I'm just it's a we'll see scenario, and I think it leans more in your favor because I do agree that these sigils are valuable for, I would say, mid-level players and high-level players. So.
And I also think roguelikes are some of the most popular games out there, so I think that
but
very well
if you want a real roguelike experience, why not just go play a roguelike? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably put more time into Shattered Worlds than I've ever put into any roguelike I've touched because I just find it more
I'll
fun
tell you
in the
what,
Runescape universe.
If you said, do you want to... Right now, if you said, do you want to play Rogue Legacy or Shattered Worlds, I'd say Shattered Worlds right now because I haven't played it enough. But in like 10 months, I would probably choose an actual game over it because it's just a mini game. I don't know, and that's another thing is like,
and I mean part of how you keep content current though is by like keep putting stuff into it that is useful. Like I mean, I think that's why sigils I think belong as reward unlocks instead of
I think the only point we really differ on here is I don't agree with you on the fact that sigils need to be locked specifically at Shattered Worlds, but I do believe that their use does, meaning that to charge, like, if you get a sigil somewhere else, it can be used, but when it runs out, you gotta go back to Shattered Worlds and play it, and you're saying that, no, it has to come from Shattered Worlds or bust. I think that's where we kind of differ here.
It seems like a distinction without a difference to me, because, like, if they make it exactly the same, like, say you get a sigil from Shattered Worlds, it lasts an hour, and you just have to keep going back every hour, or you get a sigil from a quest, and you have to recharge it every hour, and you make the anima cost of buying a new sigil and the anima cost of recharging your current sigil identical. That seems like the same thing to me.
It does become. I don't know what it costs to recharge a sigil, so that's a big thing. If it takes like 5. What?
I'm just saying it should be identical to buying it.
Yeah, I know, I totally get that. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with a straight, like, 1-to-1, but it should be fairly expensive to charge. I mean, if a sigil drains in an hour and takes 10 hours to charge, no one's going to use them. But
yeah, that's fair.
If the sigil can be charged within, 30 minutes or something, and takes 40 hours to get or whatever, I mean, that's excessive. But whatever. Point being,
if they did it like God books, where you get the God book from the from the quest, and then you get pages from Clue Scrolls. In this case, it's on Clue Scrolls and Shattered Worlds. They can either make the pages tradable, and suddenly Shattered Worlds can make people a ton of money if the sigils are worth it, or you just farm the quote-unquote pages on your own. That seems like a pretty successful model. I don't know.
Either way,
do either of you think that, or the DX, do you think that this game should ever turn into a profit thing, or should it be left as is?
I don't think it has to be honest. Like, I'm usually someone who pushes for profits of things, but I'm usually pushing for that on the skilling side. I honestly think the combat side of RuneScape has enough places to make profit that Shattered Worlds not being one of them. I'm 100% fine with it.
Okay, that's fair. My secondary question is, do you think that there should be skilling rewards on Shattered Worlds? So, like, examples would be outfits. Skilling outfits would be one example, whichever ones are still left that aren't attainable. And the second example, I guess, would be like sigils that boost skilling. So basically skilling scrimshaws, but Shattered Worlds version.
I don't
think
think
have your woodcutting scrimshaw and your woodcutting sigil.
I don't think skilling outfits would make sense there, but I do think that sigils that affect skilling should absolutely be something that comes at some point.
Mage, would you do, if it was quote unquote efficient, to do Shattered Worlds in order to boost your XP and whatever? Like, say, if they made it so it would always be worth doing, would you PVM to improve your skilling efficiency, or would you ignore it?
So that's a really hard thing for them to do. I would probably ignore it. However, I also would be against any sort of skilling drops coming from a PVM activity. I'm already against that now, and the same thing would apply to a minigame. Like, anything that boosts.
We're not really talking about drops, though.
I don't care. It's just anything. If you're doing something combat related, it should not give you a free pass for skilling. It's not how I like the game to operate. But I wouldn't quit if they did. But I just think it's unhealthy for skilling to say, hey, you can basically just do this instead. I don't like that. But
not
whatever.
Instead, as a boost. If sigils were to provide a boost to skilling.
It depends on what kind of boost. If it's a constant boost that I have to keep activating and then going back just to charge at a combat minigame, no, I'm gonna be kind of pissed off about that. But will I use it? No, probably not, because it's forcing me to do something I don't want to do. That's not how I play the game. If I turn out to really like Shattered Worlds, maybe. But I just don't like the idea of doing combat and being rewarded for skilling. Just as if I'm doing skilling, should I be rewarded for combat? If I'm just
you are.
If I'm doing good,
overloads and prayer are necessary for high level PvM.
Okay, but that's a specific skill.
Rocktails,
that is a specific skill, not skilling in general. we're splitting hairs here, and I'm not going to entertain it because it's not worth it. It's a straw man argument that I can't win, so I'm not gonna bother trying. I will, however, read the patch notes. These are this week's patch notes. Threw them kind of in the middle of the show because I wasn't sure where to put them today, so we're just gonna run through these real quick. First up, quest challenges and achievements. The bar crawl requirement on some achievements should now be ticked off correctly. Completing the Phoenix Layer won't give a pop-up for Arise from the Ash every time. You will need to complete the fight again for your Master Quest capes. Removed a full stop from the end of Easy Journey to the Center of the Earth Altar achievement. The pop-up for A Trip East should now work correctly. Pinning paths now works correctly with the Hide Completed filter toggled. The Temple at Santistan's Kudo requirement now appears correctly again in the quest interface. Other. A number of spelling errors with the Spring Fair have been fixed. Music tracks Fun of the Fair, Angel of Death, and Angel of Death Prelude now correctly unlock while Music Shuffle is enabled. Ironman can now access the Chinchompa map store and buy different outfit pieces with the Spring Fair tickets. Anagogic Orts no longer drop while riding the Bucking Baroo in the Spring Fair. Players can no longer obstruct pickaxe swinging at the Spring Fair. There you go. Those are your patch notes for the week, uncomfortably jammed into the middle of the show. Anyway, we have a couple more topics here. This one, Harley, I believe you brought to my attention here from Torn Key. It's a response to a graph where they claim that the expectation over the past 6 months has been being forced down due to bad updates in order to lower the bar, aka people's expectations for the launch of Menaphos. So that's some fucking conspiracy if I've ever heard it. But yeah, we are going to...
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
It's kind of a little crazy here. So this person replies to that comment here, Torrent Key, and says, the core functionality of the UI comes from other MMOs such as World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. It's fairly obvious to players that come from those games on how it works, where sometimes it's better to look at the bigger achievement to find out what you're actually looking for as opposed to digging through the bigger list. I know a lot of complaints have been about not being able to find what difficulty a task is for a diary. That's only a problem if you look at them individually as opposed to the whole. Going forward, this system will be a lot simpler for anything achievement related as before. Basically, they're just complaining about the achievement system here and how it was broken intentionally to lower the expectation of Menaphos. So this person's basically defending the core functionality of this interface, saying that no, the interface isn't broken intentionally. It's broken because it was designed by engineers. And basically, over time, it will get better as people suggest things and they make changes. Is that an excuse, though, to release what I would consider like alpha designs? Unfortunately, we've lost Harley, so I can't ask her specifically what her thoughts on that are at the moment. Hopefully she'll come back, but
as just a simple-minded PVMer who knows nothing about anything, that interface confuses me so much. Like, I get so sad trying to figure out what comp requirement. Like, I actually get sad about how, like, it just makes me feel really, really stupid when I try to find what comp stuff I'm supposed to do with that interface. And I mean, that's just me, but I don't know. Simple-minded PVMers struggle with that interface, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do as well. I look at it and I have a hard time trying to discern what's going on. For instance, like when the labels of like the easy, medium, and hard, I think a lot of us were trying to like figure out. We thought that they just weren't labeled, but it was really only specifically labeled due to like an icon, which was like most people aren't gonna be able to tell the difference between just a simple icon. Like, just basic design mistakes that were, that just maybe somebody whom is focused on core functionality isn't thinking about. But, you know, that's why we have UI designers versus, you know, engineering, basically. So I don't know. I personally don't mind it when things get released like this in kind of an alpha/beta form, but it does hurt how people look at your product for sure. You know, overall, some people are design obsessed, and as much as I like a good design, it's not a, you know, doesn't generally make or break things for me. But I do have to say,
No,
that
like it's not.
It gets dangerous.
It's
Yeah.
not a, yeah, it's not a huge deal. It's just like, and, you know, I was talking to Harley about this, and she says that I'm just straight up wrong, that the old system was better. It's just that I'm more used to the old system. But the old system did seem a whole lot simpler, even if it was not quote unquote better.
Yeah, the old system definitely wasn't better, but I understood it.
Yeah, like this is gonna take me, like, for example, the first time I tried to do some tasks, it took me like 10 minutes to figure out which tasks I had to do. Like it was really rough. And then the other thing that I liked about the old system is, like, if I was in Falador and I opened up the achievement system, loaded to the Falador tasks,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like if I was in Demonheim, it would automatically load to the dungeoneering tasks, and it doesn't do that. You have to like navigate to, and I don't know. It's just I haven't, other than it kind of looks better, just from a purely aesthetic standpoint. I can't think of a single thing I like about this more than the old one.
I can't either. I think they're both kind of bad. I hope now that this rework has been put on the table that it's, you know, actively being looked at rather, and it will continue to evolve, whereas the other one was just kind of a quote unquote finished product. So I guess that's the only thing I can really kind of be positive about is, hey, at least it's on the table for change now. So we'll hopefully see. And they've said this is not, they've said that there will be future updates to it. So we know without a shadow of a doubt that they also know that what they've placed into the game is not a finished product. So just stay tuned, I suppose. Yeah.
The one thing I do like is they added the Daredevil title to the achievements thing, so it's become much more visible. And we have gotten so many people to buy Daredevil off of us in the last 2 weeks. It's been pretty nice GP.
Nice. Cool. Fine.
Yeah, so that part's been good.
So real quick, do you have anything else you want to say in regards to any of the topics we've covered today before I run through our final post here that's completely unrelated to really anything we've been talking about?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about dual wield versus two-handed ranged. So basically the post that you read is like pretty accurate as far as I know. But the thing it doesn't account for is the way that Needle Strike can buff multiple abilities at the same time, which means that it's not quite that much better than dual wield. I would say in solo situations or small teams, dual wield is still much better, but in situations like AOD, if you have 5 people ranging, then you could build up those stacks extremely quickly, and it's significantly better damage than even magic, especially if you combine it with the Needle Strike switch.
It's good to know. So how easy is it to switch the ability from the one that bleeds to making it not bleed? Is it just a quick little like toggle?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that difficult. And if you're at AOD, you want it to be the one that adds stacks.
Yeah. Certain bosses you want to add stacks to, from my understanding, and certain ones you don't because it bleeds or something.
Well, the other one just isn't as good as Needle Strike.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion, because of the way Needle Strike works. Like, if you're just straight up using Revolution at like God Wars Dungeon, then yeah, it's better. But because of the way Needle Strike works, and how it's currently, like, it's arguably broken with full manual. I'd like to argue that it's broken with Revolution, depending on your perspective there. But currently, if you use Needle Strike into Snipe, cancel Snipe early, and use another ability, Needle Strike buffs all of those hit stacks. So like if you Needle Strike, Snipe, Snapshot, and your timing is absolutely perfect, then Needle Strike buff applies to both your Snipe ability and both hits of Snapshot. But that only works in full manual with ability queuing off. So it's like the degree of difficulty is arguably a little bit high for that, but it makes it really, really good.
Yeah, that sounds a little tough, but hey, interesting nonetheless. All right. Shall I move into my closing topic here? It's just a feel-good story that we have here. and then we're ready to
Sure.
close out. All right, here we go.
Well, sounds great.
Here is this post is by Cal Furious, coming from Reddit, who says, as a player who stopped playing in 2009 to 2011, I've returned, and now I'm right back in love with this game. As it says in the title, I haven't played RuneScape since I was really young. The last time I can recall seriously playing this game was back when I was in the 8th grade in middle school. I'm now a college junior finishing up my 3rd year. I heard about various updates to the game every now and again, but I never decided to come back and check in because I figured I had moved on from the game. What brought me back was when I was watching a YouTube channel called The Know. It does gaming news. Talk about how some guy was serving 2 years in prison for doxing numerous video games, including RuneScape. For some reason, I decided to just go and randomly check out the game to see if I could still like it. I hopped back on my main account, Sander Power, and moved around for a bit. The graphics were far better than I last played. Everything looked so damn new and interesting. But at the same time, I honestly didn't want to play on that account anymore. I wanted to experience the game from a brand new perspective, so I logged out, made a new account, and went through the tutorial. That very night I bought my membership again, and I've been playing non-stop ever since. The game has essentially fixed a lot of the issues I had with RuneScape in the past. The grind has been severely cut down through the use of more convenient skilling options. Quests have been reworked to be more interesting. Graphics are better, and the economy, as far as I can tell, is far more stabilized, and it's much better to make money as long as you put in a little extra effort. Also, the quests in RuneScape are still made in the high-quality, epic fashion that they've always been made in. RuneScape's quests are what a quest should be, a unique and amazing adventure. RuneScape's questing system not only far surpasses that of other MMOs, it surpasses most RPGs as a whole. Most importantly, they fixed combat. I love the combat in RuneScape 3. It's found a nice balance between having skills and techniques to make the combat more flavorful, but at the same time doesn't overwhelm you with so many different skills you can use that it becomes like WoW, where the amount of different skills available to you can be overwhelming. You can apply individual strategy with the loadout of skills you wish to use. I'm enjoying RuneScape 3 a lot. It satisfies an itch I've been having in my gaming experience. Quite honestly, I feel that so many players overlook the game because it's been around for so long and their impression of the game is based on what it was years ago. It doesn't help that many of us players I've seen talking about the game are constantly complaining about it, giving the impression the game is bad or something. Quite honestly, I have no idea why people disliked the new combat system or preferred the old one. I honestly think the combat system back then was pretty damn bad. But to each his own, I guess. In conclusion, RuneScape 3 is a different beast than it was many years ago. I find that it improved on every aspect of the MMO formula, and quite honestly, I think it's severely underestimated as a game. While RuneScape's graphics may not be as detailed or amazing as the graphics in other MMOs, it makes up for it by having a superior gameplay experience and far more creativity than its competition. Very well written and very true.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's super true. I think that almost everybody who has come back to the game after a long time and wasn't there for the release of EOC really like EOC. It seems like the only people who hate EOC are those who were there when it was released. And I think that for almost everyone else, it's like a welcome experience. Like for me, I know I was amazed by EOC when I first saw it. It was so much fun, and I really like it.
Yeah,
me yeah.
too. Again, any last words before we close it down?
Well, I do just want to say I might be biased here, but I think that some of the recent graphics that have happened in the game, AOD and Shattered Worlds and art come to mind, are just absolutely gorgeous. Like I think that
Yeah, me too.
it doesn't look like a real world thing, but in the same way that modern artwork doesn't attempt to reflect a photograph, I think that you could find beauty in artwork that doesn't really attempt to mimic reality so much as create its own reality.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're unable to suspend disbelief, then I think that's a personal thing, because graphics really shouldn't be the sole limiter to, you know, your gaming experience. Definitely you need to be able to see things, but your brain should be able to compensate for that, you know. I mean, maybe that's just me personally, but I find that, like, my mind makes up for a lot of the shortcomings in games, and makes me feel more like I'm in the world than maybe maybe I am. I don't know.
Yeah, and for me, like, I think the graphical style of something like Dishonored, which at times looked really like a watercolor painting, it's like, yeah, Dishonored never looked like a real thing that I would go out and see in the real world. But it's like, you know, it's like cool to see textures that look identical to a tree that I would see outside. But for me, like, I've always been into, like, whether it's art in a museum or art in a video game, I've always thought it was way cooler when people did creative things that you can't see in the real world. Like, Shattered Worlds you'll never be able to see that anywhere. But, you know, it's like, if a game looks like a moving picture of things I could take with, like, a nice camera, it's like, you know, that's really cool and impressive. But at the same time, I'd rather just go outside for graphics like that.
Yeah, fair enough. And I can completely, like, hyper realism, photographic realism. Yeah, it's like I can go outside and see that stuff. Yeah, I want to see wondrous things that I can't see, and that's what I think fantasy games mainly deliver. And I think RuneScape does it very well in its own way. Stylization is beautiful in its own right. It's a form of art.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this edition of RuneScape Weekly, I think. You can get your Mage Bucks for this episode. It's QNHF if you're interested in your Mage Bucks code. Otherwise, you can find us on social media. In the meantime, we got a Facebook page for you, facebook.com/RSWeekly. Got a Twitter for you as well, also at RSWeekly. And a Discord if you so choose, discord.runeweek.com. Join us there. It's all sorts of fun. And if you want, you can also rate us and review us on iTunes or whatever podcast aggregator you use to obtain the show. And of course, if you're watching this via YouTube or live or whatever, please like the video, follow us, enable notifications, subscribe, all that fancy stuff. Make sure you stay in the know about when we go live and release new content. And if you want to join us in-game, you can do that as well. We got a clan chat for you. Clan chat, kill, skill, and chill. Or clan.runeweek.com, which actually reminds me, I believe, we are in a new month, if I am not mistaken, which means we will be starting a new competition soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably announce that on Friday, because I want to make sure I have all of the details correct. But the Dungeoneering contest, I believe, has 1 day remaining and is currently first place, Leafy Green, 17 million, Autumn Elite in second place with 14.7 million, and Imaginator in third place with 9.1 million. So good luck with that if you are still looking to get in on that. WTF, I just got here scammed. Oh, sorry. Don't worry, the VOD will be up very soon. So if you missed the show, you can always catch us after the fact. Generally, I think, honestly, the fastest to process is actually Twitch. So if you want to watch it immediately, twitch.tv/Magebit. But, yeah, anyway, if you want to help us out, we got a Patreon page for you. Patreon.com/RuneScape is where to go. Get bonus content by pledging at least $3 a month. But hey, if you want to help out the show, you can pledge any amount at all. Even $1 a month helps out, so appreciate that. If you want to help us out as well, you can use our tip line, tip.runeweek.com. If you want to send us one-time donations, all tips are currently going to fund the PVM Perspective podcast, which I believe we are like over halfway to go on that. So thank you very much to everyone who has helped us out so far there. PVM Perspective podcast, I think his next goal is looking to pretty much solidify season 2. So if you want to guarantee season 2, I believe that's the current milestone goal they're working to unlock. You can see all the goals at tip.runeweek.com. And of course, you can also check us out in our shop, shop.runeweek.com. Use your Mage Bucks that you get from listening to the show. Spend them in the shop. We got all sorts of fun things for you there. Check them out, shop.runeweek.com. Upgrades as well. If you want to help us out with our upgrades page, upgrades.runeweek.com. Help us upgrade the studio. Still looking for help on that. And finally, a big special thanks to our top Patreon supporters, including Rune Group, Keski, Swagatorix, Alex W, Danny H, Kevin H, Old Gunner, Hamster King, Sudwood, Godly Fury, and Tyler. Thank you so much for your ongoing patronage. It means the world to me to be able to produce the show on a regular basis, and we wouldn't be able to do so if it wasn't for our Patreon supporters. And of course, not only our Patreon supporters, but also our listeners, whether live or after the fact, podcast, YouTube, however you're watching. Thank you so much for being in the audience. I really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to this show. I hope you enjoyed, and we will be back on Friday to do it all over again. So we'll see you then. Until then, and as always, happy skeeping.